What's up, YouTube? Haven't done an install video in quite a bit of time. Mainly been talking on YouTube, so figured I would show one of my installs here. Today we're installing the chasebays abs brake booster delete, and just abs delete in general, with the proportional valve basically to adjust front to rear. This comes with just mainly four pieces. This line, this proportional valve, obviously the brake booster delete with the new master cylinder, and then these lines with this union here. Why would you do this? Couple reasons. One, the absence of a brake booster, power brakes as some call it. Well, if you're not aware, the brake booster uses an air line, basically vacuum, from the intake manifold to basically assist with braking, to make the pedal feel kind of a little bit easier to push. And that's good and that's bad. For a daily driven car, perfect. Yeah, that's kind of the kind of thing that you want. For more of a track build, this makes it a little bit easier to heel toe because it's not gonna. You really have to really press on the pedal to really get a lot of just brake force with a brake booster delete, and it'll just make things easier to do, at least heel towing, and you have a little slightly more control. But in bigger aspect, why would you delete the ABS system as a whole, the ABS, the anti-lock brakes? And the reason I'm doing that is because I haven't been running ABS in this car since I did the swap. The reason being is you can see that the ABS is hooked up. The wheel sensors are all hooked up. Everything's hooked up. It's just that this is a version 8, pretty much STI. It's got the motor, the transmission, the Brevos, everything. But it started off as a 02 WRX swap before I did the STI stuff. So it's got an STI or a WRX 02 ABS module and wiring harness. Basically, the ABS system is from an 02 WRX, so it's not full STI, right? And what's bad about the 02 WRX, you can look this up, 02 to 03, I think they had the same problem. The ABS modules, the ABS system as a whole wasn't great. So it would actually engage sometimes, and it did before I pulled the fuse. It would engage when just at weird times, when it thought that wheels had lost traction when they wouldn't, so it would stop applying brakes to certain areas. It just felt, braking sometimes felt a little bit, it didn't instill confidence. It was it was very scary. So a lot of people do that, pull the ABS fuse on the 02 to 03 WRXs, and just kind of, you can, like feel out the brake pedal. Don't just pull the ABS and then just slam on the brakes as hard as you can. You're going to have to pump because you don't have ABS anymore, right? So you kind of get used to that. So it's been like 2 years of me driving like this. I figured now is the time I can delete the brake booster, fully remove the ABS system, and have, again, this proportional valve for adjusting brake bias front to rear, which will come in handy. Obviously, you can get the car to rotate a little bit more by changing the brake bias more front to rear. You can get it to do more what you want. It's just custom ability, right? And in so doing, this will remove weight, unused weight. The brake booster is pretty heavy. The ABS module, probably like 6 or 7 pounds. All the lines, you're cleaning up the engine bay. So what we'll do right now is, I'm not going to show the video of me pulling these lines. You should be able to do that, right? Pull these lines, loosen, pull this out, remove this proportional valve right here, obviously, because that's going to be replaced. Remove these lines, and then removing the actual brake booster and the reservoir and the master cylinder here, right? Removing all 3 of these things. That'll be the first step in this process. Chase Bay stuff does not even come with instructions. It's not too difficult to figure out. You're only putting in about 4 lines here, so it's not a huge issue to really figure out. We'll go through on what exactly you need to do, but first I'll do that. And obviously for this, please, I have a 10 here just in case, but you want to use a flare, like a flare nut wrench. So basically, it won't strip as easy. You can buy these at like your auto parts store pretty cheap. I've had this one for a while. For brake lines though, you don't want to strip those because that would be a bad time. So we'll start removing the ABS module, just all the brake lines, and then once I get to the brake booster, I'll show that again. But that's pretty easy. It's just going to be 4 bolts inside the car, 4 nuts, and then the actual the line here. So I'll start with that. Again, I would use a drip pan because you're going to drip a lot of fluid. But let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so which lines in total are you removing as we start this? You're removing, obviously, the ABS module as a whole, right? You had 6 lines coming here, 2 go in here, 4 go in here. Obviously, these go to each individual wheel. So what you're going to do is all 6 of these lines, just follow them back. You're going to remove these 6 lines as a whole. If it's connected to this, then it's not going to exist anymore. So if you're wondering which lines to remove, it's that. In addition, 2 of them will come here. So you just remove this, or more importantly, you can just remove this whole thing and leave these 2 right here. You want these 2 brake lines are going to stay. Obviously, the proportional valve, you're replacing that, so you don't need that anymore. That's going away. And then obviously the lines that connect to the actual master cylinder. So the ones that are going across here, you can see that on mine, they're not well mounted right there. Those are going away. And then the ones to the front wheels. So front wheels, those 2 right there, and the ones going to the master cylinder. But the quick and dirty is just follow these lines. You're removing them as a whole. We'll weigh stuff. We'll remove this ABS module right now, and then maybe weigh some stuff and see. Okay, so ABS module removed. Let's see how much this puppy weighs. I've seen online that it weighs, I think, around 7 pounds. Here we go. So 6.8 pounds. Okay, with the ABS module removed, now we're going to remove these 4 brake lines here. Obviously, these are going to stay, but we need to remove these brake lines just to make it easier to pull everything out. But the proportional valve and everything is coming out with that. So these 4 and the bolt that holds the proportional valve in. Okay, so brake proportional valve removed. And 2 brake lines as well. They were easy because they just went from the proportional valve right up here, so I was just able to remove it. Obviously, I removed front mount piping to make it easier for me. A lot of people probably won't have front mounts that are doing this, but it just makes it easier. So again, we're starting over here and kind of working our way this way. As you can see, these lines right here, those go all the way up and around. We're going to be removing those. This is going to be a lot easier if the motor isn't in the car, if it isn't fully dressed. Let me remove that intake pipe or the intercooler pipe as well to make it a little bit easier, and then work my way over to the master cylinder. While we're here, a lot of people probably have this in some way, shape, or form. An air oil separator. You can see my IAG air oil separator here. I never liked how it was the drain on the bottom, which goes back, which takes the oil that is caught and kind of brings it back into the crankcase. It was never as high as I would have liked. And saw this 6 months ago or 8 months ago, and while it does function, I would rather, because the way the oil is fed back is via gravity, so it's not pressurized. So what I may be doing is, now that the proportional valve is gone and the new one's going to be mounted over there, I may have some room here now to mount the air oil separator, because right now it's obviously the strut bar's in the way. I could remove the strut bar and make it a little bit higher, or I could kind of make like a washer here and kind of bring this out and up. Just bring it like an inch or 2 higher. Nothing huge. That's just one of those little things that it's not really part of this install, but I'm glad that I can do that, kind of raise it up a little bit. But next step, I will remove the lines off of the master cylinder. And then, again, those lines right there. And then, again, I will remove the brake lines. Then we'll move the brake booster and kind of go from there. Okay, fun times. When you have the motor in, this is a lot more difficult, but wasn't too bad. So still have 2 lines left. These are the 2 of the 6 that are remaining that go to the front actual brake lines on there. So I'm going to have to get underneath and kind of remove those and then kind of pull them through. The other ones are all removed up top. I even removed the master cylinder just to make it a little bit easier. Just 2 bolts, kind of pull it, and then those 2 lines attached to it. I will say this. I am not going back to an ab system. Will not be doing that. So to make it easier for me, do not do this. Again, this is me. I can bend brake lines very easily if I needed to, so I don't care. And also, obviously, they supply brake lines, so I'm not going back. But I just cut the fucking brake lines because they went down and around, and this is swapped too. So the brakes don't exactly snap up to where they're supposed to be, the brake lines. So obviously it was bent around things, and I just didn't want to like hurt anything that was in place. It was just easier to cut stuff. So I literally just cut those. Don't do that. But it made it easier for me to take everything out. So now onto the front brakes. Remove those up from underneath and then pull these up. And then the next step will be to remove that. And then we're done removing things. And then it's the install process. Okay, so deviated just a little bit. Didn't remove the brake line yet, the ones underneath the car. Figured I would stay up, if you will, and remove the rest of the brake booster. That is probably the hardest part of this entire thing. At least the removal. Installation is probably going to be just as fun. But I'll show you that this is the brake booster. There's 4 bolts on the back. Obviously, these are inside the car. So removing the master cylinder is not too big of a deal. It's just 2 nuts on the front. But to get under here is not fun. So obviously you're getting under here. And you can see the hole that is left from the master cylinder, and those are the brake booster, and those are the 4 holes right there. You can see one, but obviously there's so much going on down here. So I unbolted the steering column, removed the lower portion obviously, and the steering wheel, made it a little bit easier, and just a shit ton of extensions, U-joints, things of that sort. So now I'll get underneath the car and remove the remaining 2 brake lines, and then everything will be done with the removal section. Now, I say get underneath the car. You don't have to get underneath the car to do this unless you don't want to take the wheels off, but you have to take the wheels off anyway because you're going to be bleeding the brakes when you're done. So might as well take the wheels off, as you can see here, and then the brake line you're getting to is literally right there. So again, just use your flare, remove that, and let's see how tight that is. Oh yeah, it's loose, okay. Okay, brake line's removed. Sprayed some brake clean down there. Just kind of clean it up. We could remove the electronics as well. Right now I'll leave them in place. The weight savings could be a little bit on that. Probably like 2 or 3 pounds. But again, we're removing weight from the front of the vehicle, which on Subarus, the all-wheel drive models, that's what you want to do. Because they're already a little bit front bias already. So you want to get everything off the front as you can. Lightening the car as a whole is great, but removing stuff from the front too is good. So let's see how much we actually removed here with this combo. Let's see. Okay, so it'll only pop up real quick, so we'll see. 10.4 pounds. Okay, so if I recall correctly, this was about 7 pounds, 10.4, and then those are 2 of the lines. Well, the more lines are outside, so I'd say we removed close to 20 pounds. 20 pounds, and then this is all that's going to be replacing that with its weight. I weighed this, it weighs right around just over a pound. We'll round up and say 2 pounds for all this. Well, I didn't weigh this line, so we'll say 3 pounds. So we're moving quite a bit of weight. But again, this isn't really about weight reduction. This is more about, just a better pedal feel. Like, again, you're going to be able to have to press pretty hard to get the pedal to actually fully engage, right? Better modulation, if you will. More manual. I like it. So I'll definitely review this when I'm done as well. So now we're on to the installation process. As you see, I had to remove quite a bit to kind of get here. As I said, I did cut quite a few brake lines. I'm not going back, and even if I did, I can easily bend some lines. I have brake line, 2 benders, it's not a big deal, but I won't be going back. So I had to remove, for most people, it would just be probably the top mount would probably get in your way very much. And then fuel filter stuff over here, kind of move that out of the way. And then remove the wheels. That's pretty much it. And then you can kind of get to everything. So everything's out. If you have an oil separator, obviously you're going to remove that, but everything's out. Now the first step we'll do is installing this little guy. Pretty easy. Actually, kind of shove it in right now. Take these nuts off real quick. And this is just going to slide through. You can see the depth distance that this would have to kind of compensate for the brake booster that would be in place there. Okay, that last one. And then this should easily. The brake booster was a monster to get out because it's kind of a smaller hole. You don't really have as much room to really pull that big brake booster up. We can just slide this in like so. There we go. Here we go. Move that line out of the way. Let's zoom out just a little bit so it's kind of an easier view. And we should just shove that in. It's not lining up with the ones on the inside. I got to take a look at that, but you can see it's going to be a pretty easy install there. Just shoving that right through. Obviously, I got to look at the ones inside. The holes aren't lining up perfectly. But yeah, that's how it's going to sit. Obviously, much cleaner. The engine bay is already a nightmare. So anything we can do to kind of clean that up is great. Okay, brake master is in. The bottom bolt, or the bottom nut, I don't have on. And the reason being is because we're going to install this little guy. This is the brake proportionate valve. We're going to use that bolt to install it right below there. Obviously, we have some fittings to do. I may have to go and loosen it, but for right now, I'm going to see how it fits underneath. Again, using this hole and the bolt down there. Okay, here's where we sit right now. Move this washer hose out of the way. Got to clean up around here with some brake clean, but you can see the master cylinder's in, proportional valve is in. And then if we go to the inside of the car, installed a few things back, but mainly, if you look up here, let's look at the brakes. Zoom out just a smidge, okay. So you can see the bolts are in, 1, 2, and then 3, 4 up top there. We just have to put this guy in. See, he's hanging down. This is for the pedal. I will install that later. Not right now, but it does just use, it's pretty easy. I need to adjust it, but you're going to just be using that to slide in the pedal. Next step will be to install this line. Just a mess. Jeez. Will be this line. So this line is going to go from the master cylinder to the proportional valve, and then it's going to distribute brake fluid accordingly, and then it'll be these lines. Again, pardon the mess. It is a cluster here. Okay, so first line installed, the line that runs from the actual master cylinder down to the proportional valve. Pretty easy stuff. It only goes one way. You can't really screw it up. It goes up on the top of the T here. Let's see if I can zoom in a little bit more. Obviously there's a proportional valve, T, and then go up here. And then the other side, it goes down and around. Obviously you don't want to do a straight 90-degree bend, so it bends a little funny. And then it connects to the master cylinder here. Now we're going to be installing the other lines. And I cleaned up around with brake clean just a little bit to kind of clean it up. We're going to be installing these lines now. So, and then we're done. 3 lines. So, some are pretty self-explanatory. This one, obviously, will probably go over here to the 2 open rear ones. So, we know where that goes. But, where do they go in terms of on the actual proportional valve? So, I will hook it up and show you, but this one with the 90-degree bend I'll do first. The 90-degree bend one is going to go, if you look at the T, at the bottom there, it's going to go on this side over here. So it's going to 90-degree bend, and it's going to go actually to this wheel under here, right? And then the other one on the other side, if you zoom in again, there's one on the other side, which is, kind of see it there, it's right there. That one's going to be a straight line out. It's going to go to the other wheel, other front wheel on the other side. So not this one with the union on it. It's going to be this one. So you have this one with 2 straight fittings. So this is the side that goes there, and this is the side that goes to the wheel. And this one with the 90-degree fitting is going to go again for USDM vehicles, which is the one I'll put on now, the driver side. So we'll put this one in, and then the one that goes on it's labeled in and out for some reason. So if you look at the labels, the one that it says out, and then the one on this side actually says in, which is weird. See, it says in, so it says in. There's a T coming off of that side, and it says in. This one says out. So out is actually meaning the rear. So pretty easy there. In means the front brakes, if you will, and out means the rear brakes. But if that is too confusing, I will install one line at a time here and show you that. Okay, so first one installed. Let me focus here. You can see the 90-degree actually bent up. And then what I did to kind of hold it in place was there was a hole there already. And I just made like a riv nut there. So I basically riveted that hole and then was able to put a kind of a tie around that. It's just ties I have lying around. You definitely want to secure that, but see, it goes down and around. And the reason you want to secure that, I made it secured a little bit better. Because you come around here, you can see the line would get pretty close. Let me hold this right here. The line would get pretty close. Obviously now with it held in place there, it's nowhere near the axle, but still see there's a little bit of movement there. There's a clip I'm missing here, so I need that clip also to adhere this. It's not like it's going to be in a bad place or anything, but for right now this will work. But definitely want to get that clip in there. Had to take that clip out. First one done. Now we're going to go on to the next one, which is this guy right here. Again, 2 straights. So obviously this will go to the wheel. This is going to go to this wheel over here. And then we're going to connect to the light. Show you again for the 5th time. Again, this one doesn't go to the out right there. The out is only for the rear brakes. So this one will go to the other side of the T there. If I zoom in even further, we'll go to that right there. It's being highlighted. And then I'll go to the other front wheel. So let's do that. Okay, so second line installed for the front. See it right there. Really focus. And these 2 are for the front. So follow it around. See, it goes up to here. Use kind of a wire loom one there, but use the existing brake line ones. Existing brake line. You can make this cleaner if you'd like. My engine bay isn't spotless, so I'm not really looking for perfection achieved, but right there, right there. And then we go down using, again, existing brake line ones right there. Let's see if we can zoom in. There we go. Using the existing brake line one. I also zip tied it in several spots, as you can see right there, just in case something were to happen. And then down and around, we go in right here. This one actually has a clip. That clip in place. I need to get a clip for the other side, but you see it coming right there. Okay. Last step would be well, not the last step. It's the second to last step, because we got to bleed the brakes after that. Second to last step is the last one, which is the union for the rear. So what we got to do is go to the out one right here, to that union over here, and I'll move the air hole separator, kind of go from there. I'll put everything back together in this last step. Okay, so all buttoned up. You can see the last line there in the out position goes again to the rear. We went up, used the existing brake line holders all the way around to here. This doesn't come with a mount, by the way. this would just be flopping. So I'm kind of made my own. I just had some aluminum lying around, and this is like a insulation with like double-sided with tape on one side. So that's gonna hold it in place. It's not gonna go anywhere. I was able to button everything else up as well. Air oil separator. And see if you rewind and see the video from before, it was lower and hitting this almost, so I was able to raise it up a little bit higher, which I like. This is now clean and clear. No ABS module. Filled up the ABS, filled up the fluid, filled up the master cylinder. I'm using Motul 600. You can get Motul 800 as well. It's a good time to flush the fluid because you're going to be, bleeding anyway. So remaining things to do. Don't forget this. I have this just laying here, but this was the vacuum hose that goes down and around to the intake manifold right there for the brake booster. So I am going to take this off, and then I'm going to have to get a cap for that to put that off. Don't forget that. And then obviously I still need to bleed the brakes. Check for leaks, so I will do that, and then we'll see how it is afterwards. Okay, I'll kind of end the video with the quick summation for the bleeding and what else I did to finish this job up. Bleeding, these are Brimbos, obviously, so what you want to do is, with Brembo brakes, they have the inside bleeder as well as the outside bleeder, so you want to use the inside bleeder first, and then with all cars, typically some cars are a little bit different. I think on the STIs, some people do it a little bit differently, some people don't, but I start with the furthest away from the master cylinder. So I will start with this wheel first, the inside, bleeding it, then the outside, then I will go to that wheel, the rear, then I will go to that front, and then I will go to that one up there. This has already been bled once. I'm going to bleed it one more time because it feels like 90% there, but I'm going to bleed it one more time again. And then the last thing that I had to do, let me turn on the light, was install the rod there. So you see the rod is installed to the master cylinder. One weird thing that I had to do was, let's see if I still have it. Whew. Two things. One is this, and two is this. So this was the piece that had like the cotter pin going through it. It was too long. I guess it's just a generic one they use. Obviously it has like 5 holes in it, so you can trim it down to 3 holes, and it went through. The other thing was this like extension that was added on. It was making the pedal come up too high to where I couldn't even get it attached. So I actually, it's maybe because I'm swapped, but I had to take this off. And then I just put the pedal grip through that, so through the actual thread, because they're the same thread pitch. It's not like the extension is a different thread pitch than what's going in there. So that's what I did there, and then the job's done. I'll have a review of how it feels probably shortly, but there it is again, installed. Looking good, much better, much cleaner. See, my engine bay isn't great, but it's looking better. So obviously a lot cleaner in this area too. So clean up as much as we can, kind of go from there. But all in all, I'm rating this. This install was not bad at all. Hardest part was getting the brake booster out and maybe bleeding the brakes. So hope you guys enjoyed. Thanks.